following 3 poems are taken from my soon-to-be-released poetry chapbook, Remember This Day. My husband and I had gone to France for a vacation in 2016 and found ourselves in the middle of the terror attack in Nice on Bastille Day. The first poem is about that experience. The man settled in the chair opposite us is unconvincingly cheerful, affecting a smile as he asks about our travels. Ah, Paris, the galleries, the Louvre, the Seine. Diplomas in psychology decorating the wall above his desk, designed to give him credence as judge and jury of our trauma, cast doubt within me, an unhealthy skepticism that he has adequate answers. His thinning hair, the color of wheat, grasps parched skin, a rounded stomach from apparent lack of exercise, perhaps due to too much time in the chair, the etched furrows between saddened eyes, and a set jaw despite his attempts to release its grin, all suggest he has treated too much trauma over the course of his career. Yet we came to him for strength we don't have ourselves. Our sessions with him are as blurred in my mind as a chalk drawing on the sidewalk after a rainfall. I lost my hearing decades ago, so my ability to follow his repartee is difficult. Perhaps that's the reason. How is Aix-en-Provence, Parc National des Calanques, so lovely? We were vigilant, we say, recalling the Bataclan Theater. And France's win in the semi-final Euro football game. Wasn't that something? Yes, we agree. We attended the Paris Pride celebration we had, expressed our support as allies given the attack 3 weeks earlier at an Orlando nightclub. And Nice. Yes, we give in. Every day, warm and sunny, lunches on the beach, strolls along the Promenade des Anglais, the Euro finals between France and Portugal. The man and Eric chat about their favorite teams, which players they follow. Football? We're talking about football? My husband's forced laugh shakes me. I want to shake them both. Finally, the man allows us to reveal our purpose. The day before Bastille Day, my husband recounts, he suffered a kidney stone, but refused an operation. A decision he believes saved my life. Because then we had dinner together on the beach, in a lovely restaurant below the promenade, watched the Bastille Day fireworks over white wine and salads and rolls and grilled salmon. Alone, I would have watched the performance of lighted fountains against the black sky with the buoyant crowd above, stood near the pop-up bandstand to feel the beat of the music, bought candy from a nearby street vendor. I would not have eaten dinner in a restaurant by myself. And so there we were, sitting at a table, sheathed with a spotless white tablecloth, solid wooden flooring shielding our feet from the stony, pebbled shore, an olive green awning buffering us from the cacophony above, tranquil. We finished our dinner, we explain, ready to join the festive crowd on the street, waited for our bill. Our server accepted payment, first from a heavy-set gentleman and his wife, fellow guests from our hotel, untanned, new arrivals perhaps, each dressed in casual shorts and shirts, vacationers like us. We watched them climb the wooden steps to the Promenade des Anglais, anxious to leave ourselves. My husband glanced toward the awning. Something caught his eye. I followed his gaze. People were diving headfirst off the promenade onto the restaurant's canopy. How silly, he remarked. I couldn't tell when the band music stopped. Didn't hear the rush of the truck or the screams. I did hear popping sounds. Seems they were of a frequency I could still detect. Grabbed my husband's wrist, shouted, "Gunshots!" I pulled him toward bathrooms hidden by the kitchen. Someone fell on top of me, tore my hand from my husband's, injured my shoulder. Found my balance, ran forward without him, without thinking. Stopped, looked back, watched the slow motion of him walking oddly from the effects of the kidney stone and narcotic painkillers. A growing crowd catching up from behind. I fluttered my hand. "Hurry!" I lip read, I'm coming. In a narrow bathroom stall, we joined 8 others. A horde of people pounded against the steel door we closed behind us, trying to get in. No more room. 2 young girls crouched on the floor, knobby knees, one with her hands pressed over her ears. Another girl sat on the lid of the commode, legs tucked under her. A husband and wife, their doe-eyed son. 2 teenage girls separated from their family, my husband and me. One of the teenagers began to cry. I placed my hand on her shoulder, but she didn't flinch from my touch. Might not have felt my hand at all. I kicked myself. Such a debilitating sense of guilt. I had decided where we should run. A dead end. Nowhere else to flee if attackers followed. Nothing you could have done differently. No better choice you could have made, says the man on the chair. In the heat of the moment, nothing felt like a choice. Yet at the same time, I felt I had free will and that the decision where to run had been mine. From the bathroom stall, I texted our son and daughter, while my husband posted on Twitter. News correspondents picked up his tweets, asked to interview him. Why? I'm hiding in a bathroom. You are coherent and in place. Our son wrote back, ask questions. Our daughter, performing on a cruise ship, had not seen the text. Someone alerted her. She heard your dad and terror attack in the same sentence, ran to a television, checked her phone, saw 27 missed messages. I texted my brother, realizing it was a work day. You must be working. Not anymore. We learned a truck packed with explosives had run down cheerful strollers, stopped almost directly above us. The driver defined more by mental illness and a history of violent behavior than by religious affiliation. I smelled a foul odor that evening I'd never experienced before or since. A mustiness inhaled, a putridness on my tongue, rotted dreams. I sent my children what I thought was a video of myself expressing my infinite love for them, just in case. But I'd forgotten suddenly how to make a video. Inadvertently sent a still photo of me not looking my best. We emerged when it was deemed safe, walked along the pebbly beach back up to the promenade. Bodies sheathed in white tablecloths taken from nearby restaurants, including ours, littered the road as far as the eye could see, like a Stephen King horror flick. One man could not find his wife, searched for her under each of those cruel covers, found her later alive, but now would live with what he'd seen. 86 people killed, including 10 children. Over 400 injured, including the husband and wife from our hotel. A crushed baby stroller, the baby crumpled beside it. A bicycle, the body of the teenager who had ridden it. Police officers shaking as they frisked us, went through our bags, pointed their guns, ready to shoot. Move, hon. I pressed my husband's arm. What? You're standing. Oh, God. Someone's blood. Our hotel room overlooked the promenade. No escape. No desire to sleep. In the morning, news media continued their pursuit of my husband. Hounds after a wounded fox. Explain what happened. What went through your mind? Look at the camera. Speak into the mic. The retelling over and over. Too much. One reporter had covered a suicide bombing in Afghanistan. No amount of preparation could have stopped the attacker, he confided, despite what people think. We flew to London, called the restaurant. We haven't paid our bill yet. My husband says he forever wants me in his foxhole, believes I led him to safety. I led us to a place with no escape, I say. You can't look back and think I could have, should have, says the man in the chair. Sometimes at night I see death marching near the foot of my bed, a robotic Mr. Bean, arms and knees bent, jerking closer with each mechanical step. The lifeless whites of unseeing eyes as bright as the white socks poking out from beneath a black business suit, not quite reaching the ankles. In photographs my husband took of me before that evening, I'm smiling, my brown hair mussed by the wind, a drink in my hand, gazing flirtatiously. It's hard for me to look at these photographs, myself as yet unaware. We survived, but why? Were we privileged because we were lucky? Or were we lucky because we were privileged? Dinner at a lovely beach restaurant, waiting to pay our bill. There is a Buddhist parable that speaks of being shot by 2 arrows when we suffer from tragedy. The second arrow, our reaction to the first arrow, is more painful. The second arrow is optional. This is what the man in the chair wants us to understand, why he asks no questions about the attack, why he wants us to think of other things. Trauma creates a gravel road in our brains. Thinking too much about what happened widens that gravel road into an asphalt street, and that asphalt street into an 8-lane highway. I avoid crowds these days, always keep my phone charged. Ever so often, my husband and I cry. July 14, 2016. I am slowly forgetting the date. Then a similar attack occurs elsewhere. Another date. How do we know when we are healed? When we no longer fall a part of the news? The second poem, Hunt, was written after I watched a documentary on wolves hunting bison and couldn't help but observe the difference between animals hunting for survival and humans hunting for, well, many reasons that don't include survival. The wolves are hungry. They've been tracking for a while now over thick snow. Wide four-toed paws snowshoeing in tandem across the belly of the valley. Leaden skies have dusted their thick gray and black fur with white flocculent jackets, as pale as the markings on their faces and underbellies. Thick crusts of snow on their backs that don't melt under the scarce sunlight cutting in and out from behind shifting shutters like a battery on the brink of dying. They are hungry. They are hunting. They've covered large territory. They find the bison. The bison are foraging. They swish their immense heads back and forth to disperse the snow, scouring for grasses, leaves, twigs, bark, anything edible. They notice the wolves. Bully dark brown coats are drawn taut. They grunt. stand firm side by side, one massive collective beast brandishing sharp horns and deadly hooves, impenetrable. This standoff could last days. Eventually, the bison separate, charge to defend. The wolves separate, search for a weakness. One of the wolves catches a young bison, matches his speed, grabs hold with powerful jaws, tears into the tender flesh of the immature flank, releases it to avoid the calf's kicks, grabs hold again, and again. The wolf relies on other members of the pack to keep the rest of the herd at bay. The young bison slows. The wolf's jaws hold firm until the calf ungracefully falls in the snow. A large bull turns, lowers its behemothing head, thrusts the full measure of its bulk, uses the strength and agility it has gained from years of practice surviving and adapting to the predator-prey relationship, charges the wolf with the sharp curve of its horns, convinces the predator to seek easier prey. The wolf releases the calf. The kill, for now, is thwarted. The wolves must try again, must eat, must find another bison to sustain kith and kin, driven solely by hunger, their need to survive, nothing more. My third poem, Old Man, recounts my horse's last days before he passed at age 34, and how his attitude toward life was very much like our own. White hairs pepper his sepia forehead below a thin black mane. They cover the nether side of his throat like an old man's goatee. Light eyeshadow near dark eyes still large and curious, a chalky accent along the lean muscle of his neck. A patch here and there above his fetlocks, the side of one hock. War injuries, not age, the erectness of his posture suggests. The winter months are approaching, a time of year when he quickly loses heft. I monitor his eating closely, watch him slowly nibble his grain, prod him to eat more. His muzzle works methodically, slipping food past worn molars no longer capable of chewing. The farrier laughs when she comes to trim his hooves. Nothing to trim, she says. He shuffles like an old man. His hind legs cross as he rambles. I watch him head slowly to the far corner of the field, then double back at a happy gait. Not exactly a run, proud of his stride nonetheless. He has a thing for the mares. Neighs, expects them to respond. They glance at him for a second, go back to grazing. He makes an effort to rear up, tries to jump the fences separating him from them, though he'd been gelded years ago. Perhaps he's forgotten. He has an agenda. Dirty old man, the barn manager calls him. I remember how we used to ride through lush East Coast forest, sail through the air over fallen logs, pass between trees with barely enough space for his torso and my legs, eat mulberries from low-hanging branches, avoid stinging nettle. Once we encountered a lone hiker with a monstrous backpack the color of algae. A fast slope brought to an abrupt stop. A surprised hello. Her warning about a copperhead poking his head out of the creek. I look at his frail legs and am reminded of the year he foundered. Coffin bone twisted in the hoof, padded high-heeled horseshoes, special diet, minimal exercise. I remember the lightning complex fires, his evacuation, the helicopters, the pregnant cow escaping the stall next to his. I don't know how much longer I'll have him. Arthritis is rearing its own ugly head. Still, he shows off a feisty side usually kept well hidden. Some have suggested I need to let him go. The winter will be hard. Loss is a part of life. He looks up from his bucket of grain, gazes at me with kind eyes. A bit rusty, but I've still got it in me, he says. Give me a second. He presses his muzzle against my cheek. A kiss. Old age is nothing, he reassures me.